Putazos y Pendejadas Podcast.
Let's jump right into it, Mark. The pay-per-view card with PBC, it was their big inaugural pay-per-view with Amazon Prime. I've got to say, just as a customer, as a viewer of the event, Mark, I thought it was a success. The fights rolled out really fast, and they had some entertaining fights on the card. I thought it went really well, man. Did you get a chance to watch the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. I had a lot of people over, my wife's birthday and all, but yeah, I was able to catch it. Had them both simultaneously. DAZN going on one, Amazon going on the other. So,
man, let's jump right into the main event. Tszyu loses his WBO belt to Sebastian Fundora. That was a bloody match. I can't remember the last time I saw a match that bloody. Tszyu was cut on the top of his head due to a sharp elbow from Fundora. He looked to me like he was in control of the fight for the first two rounds. Then the cut happened in the third, I believe, and it completely changed the game. I think you and I both agreed. Tszyu looked like he was on his way to stopping Fundora. He had already busted up his mouth, had him bleeding from the mouth, busted up his nose. Fundora was already in bad shape, but kudos to him. Stayed disciplined, boxed from the outside, which is something that he was criticized for a lot in his career, not jabbing, not using his reach advantage and his height advantage, and kept Tszyu at bay. How did you see the fight, and were you surprised by anything?
Look, I hadn't seen a full fight of Tszyu. I wanted to see it, and everything was about Tszyu. Let's be honest. We were all overlooking Fundora. Nothing was about Fundora. Everybody was talking about Tszyu, this Australian guy with a big name, right? His dad is a legend and everything coming over here. He looks great, man. He's really, really good with both hands. You can tell the guy's been boxing for a long time. He understands the fight game, and he's dangerous. He's powerful. You can see it. We all saw it. He was landing a barrage of rights right before he got cut. Fundora was having trouble moving his head from that right hand because he was trying to stay so disciplined. He was so disciplined in what he was trying to do. Tszyu was just so good at being deceptive every time he landed that right. Once that cut happened and Tszyu felt some adversity, his corner didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. They could have stopped it. Maybe somebody could have just told the ref, hey, we can't continue. They would have stopped it, and they would have probably gone to the scorecards, and he would have probably won in the fourth round. Well, his corner wasn't experienced enough to know that. Obviously, he wasn't experienced enough to come out of that adversity. That was super surprising to me that he couldn't come out of it. I know it's a bloody mess or whatever, but around the 11th and 12th round, I mean, something in you's got to say, go for it. Fundora, on the other hand, what a surprise, man. I mean, we were all overlooking this guy. Yes, he was getting pounced and beat up. I really was overlooking him. I thought it was all about Tszyu. I owe this kid an apology. The kid stuck in there through adversity. He was swallowing a lot of blood. His nose was definitely busted from a very, very early round. He was bleeding all over the place. He kept his discipline. He fought a really, really smart fight. And Tszyu, right, was working so well. Like, you always had that sense of, Tszyu's going to knock him out here. Tszyu's going to knock him out here. Because the talent level was so different. But Tszyu just doesn't have that heart. And we heard it afterwards. He didn't even clamor for the rematch. He didn't care that he lost his title. He was asking for a fight with a Spence, a fight with a Crawford. That was really surprising to me. That surprised me. Tszyu, a man with that much talent, with no heart, and didn't care about losing his belt. And yeah, but he made it through the fight. And it was great that he made it through as a bloody mess. I'd like to see him stay and try to win.
So then, Mark, I want to challenge that a little bit. We need to be careful when we talk about fighters with no heart, man. Like, stepping in the ring, number one, takes a lot of balls, takes a lot of courage to do that. Number two, he could have found an out in that fight. And we'll jump into that. There's 2 points to make on that.
Right.
He didn't. But he didn't. He could have found a way out. He could have said, I can't see. They stopped the fight. People go home pissed off. He lives to fight another day and takes his belt home. He didn't choose to do that. So when you say he doesn't have heart, you got to be a little bit careful about that, man, because those are heavy, heavy words, and that's a huge accusation to make against the fighter.
Just to stay to survive, though.
No, he didn't stay to survive, bro. He was trying to win that fight. He was trying to. Here's the problem. Sebastian Fundora didn't let him win that fight. You're taking away Fundura's performance when you're saying that Tszyu didn't try to win. So we do want to give some props to Fundora as well, because he showed heart throughout that. Like you said, the man was bloody, swallowing blood for most of the fight. He fought through adversity himself.
Broken nose.
Nose. Man. Can you imagine fighting a fight with a broken nose? Like, and the other point to make, though, you did bring up the part about the corner. The corner could have stopped that fight prior to the fourth round. It would have been a draw, a technical draw. Tszyu would have kept his belts, right? And again, everybody would have been pissed off. Everyone would have been home saying, fuck that fight. I don't know, though, if many people would complain because the severity of the cut.
Yeah.
But Tszyu saved that pay-per-view card twice. The first time was accepting a fight on 12 days notice, a last-minute replacement against a freak of an opponent. And then 2, not giving in to the cut, being a warrior and fighting through that, even though he was impaired for most of the fight. Again, I want to say, give Tszyu his props, man. I think he deserves a little bit more respect than that. He did lose the fight. His O is gone. We shouldn't chastise fighters for losing. That's why they don't take risks, because as soon as they lose or they lose that undefeated record, nobody wants to pay attention to them anymore. And that's just a damn shame. You don't see that stuff in other sports. Do you think the corner? I want to ask you one thing, buddy. Do you think the corner should have stopped that fight for Tszyu?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they should have stopped it, kept the belts, gone home, regrouped, come back another day to fight. Absolutely.
I'm hearing a lot of boxing analysts and professional fighters themselves are saying Tszyu's corner should not have allowed that fight to continue.
Yeah, they shouldn't have. Keep the belts. That cut is one of the hardest cuts to stop, and they should have known that immediately. It's never going to stop unless you're stitched around who says he can stop everything, right? But most people say they can't stop that, man. That's a really hard stop. They should have known, hey, this is one of them cuts that's not gonna, and stopped it. I mean, he had a great night of boxing anyway. He would have come back. He would have been a way better position. Now, Lord knows what's next for the future with this guy. I mean, of course, his name's going to be out there, but he was at the cusp of big names, and he could have kept that belt.
Well, that brings us to the next topic, Mark. He is in a difficult situation now because he's lost his belt. It looks like there's not going to be an immediate rematch with Sebastian Fundora. Fundora is going to drop that WBO belt. It seems like he's going to forego a fight with Terrence Crawford. And it looks like Tszyu is going to be the odd man out because now he's, I don't know where his standing is going to be with the WBO. He's just going to have to wait his turn and see what happens.
Man, maybe the right guy is fighting Spence. No, I'm just kidding, Tszyu. Hey, I like Tszyu, man, but it was surprising not to see a guy
clamor for the rematch.
Jesus. No, he's clamoring for a fight.
You feel like you want to see more of him. I heard him say he wants the rematch. He's not going to be fighting for a little while. He's taking some time off. I actually think he took more punishment than we realized. Fundora can hit, bro. He looks frail in your words, and I agree with you. He does look frail, but that boy is strong.
Those hands are huge. Yeah, those jabs, they look pitter patter, but they must be hammers just tapping.
Yes. I suspect Tszyu took more punishment than we realized in that fight. So he's gonna rest up and recover, and before he tries to come back. Let's talk about Romero versus Cruz. Probably the most entertaining fight of the night. Entertaining because Isaac just wiped the mat with Rolly Romero. I almost felt bad for Rolly's. He took a pretty bad beating. I was not expecting that bad of a beating. I thought Pitbull Cruz was going to handle Rolly Romero, but not that easily. But says a lot about Rolly. Didn't have anything for Pitbull at all. What'd you think of the fight, bro?
Well, Rolly, I wish it would have had more time with Salas and that Cuban team over in Las Vegas at Salas Boxing Gym. I really wish, but you can't turn the hands of time. He really just didn't know how to fight Pitbull. He never is loose. he's never loose. He's always tight. And all that tightness, it makes you lose, energy. And also, he didn't know how to fight Pitbull, man. You gotta dance around, punch to the outside, and hope he makes a mistake. And Rolly has ridiculous power. And the thing about Pitbull is you have to learn how to fight this guy. You can't fight him with power because he doesn't respect anybody. He doesn't respect anybody's power. He's going to come in and do his job. And I don't think at this point anybody's going to be able to knock out Pitbull from what I've seen. So you got to fight Pitbull away, running away, and just jab and hope to stay away because he's not going to get tired either. He's just a little piece of tank that just comes at you, never going to get knocked out, never going to run out of energy and just pound away at you. You got to box this guy and run. This really, truly calls for a Shakur Stevens performance to beat a Pitbull. He needs a foreign fighter, man.
I don't think so, man. I think any of the champions at 140 pounds beat him.
But anyway, yeah, Rolly fought the worst fight. I wish he had more time to learn how to fight a Pitbull. You can't fight him the way he did, tense and not. You got to be loose and be on your toes, jab, stick, and move with a Pitbull because he is not gonna respect anything that his opponents do.
Mark, one thing about that though, if you're talking about a fighter that is not Rolly Romero, that's not who he is. That's not what he's shown throughout his career. And I don't know that any amount of time with Salas, you'd have to turn the clocks back to 16 when he was a 16-year-old kid in the gym for the first time working with Salas. From that point on, maybe he would have had a shot at learning how to box an aggressive fighter like Pitbull. One more thing on that, I want to say, I think Pitbull loses to all of the champions at 140. I think Devin Haney probably will have the hardest time with him, but Devin will outbox him. He is the pure boxer in that division, and an aggressive fighter like Pitbull, that's a beautiful matchup right there. And usually the aggressive fighters have the edge against a boxer, but Pitbull's punches are just too wide, man. And he doesn't really set up shots. I don't think he's going to mess with Devin. I really would like a Matias fight. I think a Matias fight would be beautiful, beautiful violence. And I still think Matias handles him because Matias, he's bigger. He's definitely a puncher at 140 pounds. And I bet that's the kind of power that will hurt Pitbull. He'll definitely stop Pitbull. Teofimo is that boxer puncher, dude. Teofimo loves it when fighters come to him. He's really good when fighters are aggressive and they come at him. That's exactly what Pitbull does. I don't see a scenario where Pitbull beats the other champions at 140 pounds, but I'd like to see him try. Are there any matches at 140 that you want to see Pitbull in?
I can't wait for the Subriel Matias. It seems like that's really going to happen. Right? That's going to be a fun fight for a lot of people to see, man.
Who do you got in that one, bro?
I'll be pulling for Pitbull on that one. I really think it's going to be difficult for Pitbull to get knocked out. I don't see anybody knocking this guy out. He's taken a lot of punches from Tank, and Rolly landed some solid punches in this fight.
He did land a few punches. He did land some good shots, and Pitbull just
walked right through them.
Yeah,
I don't see nobody. And then with his neck exercise, I don't see anybody hurting this man. I don't see no, and he doesn't respect Matias. That's what's dangerous.
Another really good fight on that card was a Martinez Cordova. That turned out to be an action fight I wasn't expecting. I was not high on Cordova, but man, he really put on a pretty good performance and made it tough for Martinez down the stretch. El Rey looked like he was able to, he kind of faded a little bit towards the end of the fight, but that was a damn good action fight. And what a way to open up. Just to think that fight was going to be a prelim bout and it got upgraded to the pay-per-view card. I got to say that was definitely a good fight. What do you think of El Rey's performance versus Cordova?
I think I owe El Rey a big apology. I doubted him. I honestly didn't think he was prepared for this fight. He showed that he was prepared. He showed that he was the more prepared man. And this fight right here was toe-to-toe action. And this fight right here came to who had more stamina at the end. And I know he faded a little, but he was able to have the most stamina in the fight. And that's what won him the fight. His preparedness won him the fight. I owe him a big apology. I didn't think he was ready.
Yeah, I gotta apologize myself to Cordova. Cordova was he put up a pretty strong performance. He looked like he was getting busted up. He was knocked down twice in that fight early, came back from that and almost took the fight, made it really, really close for Martinez. Cordova really showed some excellent boxing skills, some good movement, and he was running Martinez into a lot of his shots. I thought it was a damn good fight. Wouldn't mind a rematch of that one either. We also had a top rank card the night before, Oscar Valdez versus Liam Wilson. That was a damn good fight. Can we just give a round of applause to Oscar Valdez? The guy takes on fights. He's taken on all comers. He took on Shakur when no one wanted to fight Shakur. He took on Navarrete while Navarrete is on this hell of a run from 126 to 130. I mean, Oscar Valdez is just jumping in there with whoever, whenever. So shout out to Oscar Valdez. Had a hell of a performance against Liam Wilson. Mark, you brought up a good point this weekend when I'm like, come on, guys, calm down. This is Liam Wilson. But you said, think about where this guy's coming from. He just took a horrific beating from Emmanuel Navarrete just a few months ago. I was swollen shut. And he was taking a pounding from a hard-hitting man at 130 pounds. And he thought his career was over. And the reason why he showed so much emotion at the end of that fight was because he still got a little bit left in the tank before he calls it a day. Well, one of the things that I really liked about that fight, Mark, was at the end of the fight. Did you catch the exchange between Valdez and Liam Wilson right after the fight was announced?
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That was a really good exchange there. They continue the good sportsmanship from Mexico that El Divino had as well. Mexicanos are warriors and they're great sportsmen. Pitbull didn't show too good of sportsmanship afterwards, but I mean, he put up with a lot. But look at Martinez and Cordova sitting down together in the hospital, talking, going over the fight. I don't know if you saw that, but that was beautiful, man. It's awesome. Two guys had just gone to war and they're sitting together in the waiting room in the hospital talking. It's awesome. Mexicanos are good sportsmen.
Boxers are athletes like no other, man. I'll tell you that. In that exchange, Valdez mentioned that Wilson had hurt him in the ribs. I think it was right before the last round, before the knockout or the fight was stopped. I remember Valdez catching a body shot and he froze and kind of backed up a little bit. Turns out he got hurt to the ribs by Wilson on that shot. And he told Wilson, you almost had me, man. Don't quit. You almost had me in this fight.
Yeah, he said he almost had him if he could have followed up with a hook there. And he kind of,
Cenicia, Estrada, and Yocasta Valle. That was for the undisputed women's minimum weight championship. That was also a hell of a show. Very entertaining fight. You could see the grudge match was still alive in that match between the two women. They went at it, but I was very impressed with Estrada, Mark. She showed some athleticism. You talked about her being a better athlete in the last video. She showed it. She had really good movement. She was turning Valle. She was shifting her feet, coming in. Like she would make Valle miss, act like she's backing up, but actually close the distance, land some shots, and then move away. Some beautiful boxing from Estrada in that fight, but Yoka made it close. She looked like she was the stronger fighter in there. And I gotta say, I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch. What do you think?
I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch either. It was damn close. And Estrada showed her athleticism early, and then Valle showed her will and determination and her come forward aggressive style late. It was a classic boxer, puncher, athletic, against the aggressor. It was a really, really good fight. Unfortunately, we probably won't see it. Estrada's already been vocal saying she doesn't think it was close at all and she doesn't want to rematch her. I really wish she could sit down and watch the fight again and see how much the crowd loved it, even though they were booing afterwards and everything. That's just a sign of they're frustrated and they want to see this again. So give it to us again, and I'm sure that it'll make a hell of a lot more money.
All hail to the queen, Cenicia Estrada, the queen of the minimum weight division. And we'll see. I think she's going to move up on to the next weight division, which will be 108 pounds. Wishing her success there. One more card that we want to talk about today is the DAZN card. where Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez defeated Gulamirian by unanimous decision to become Mexico's first cruiserweight champion. He has the WBA title. Zurdo was the first Mexican super middleweight champ. Now he's the first Mexican cruiserweight champion. And you got to think that's a huge jump up in weight as well. Do you think Zurdo Ramirez has gotten the props that he's deserved in his career?
No, you know what? Because he's done this quietly, but he's a multiple time champion. Yeah, this guy's definitely got Hall of Fame credentials all over him, but nobody talks about him like a Hall of Famer. We are overlooking him. And yeah, you think of Zurdo and you wouldn't say Hall of Fame yet, right? But look at what he's done. That says
Right.
Hall of Fame. So he is overlooked a little, but I think he found his weight where he's going to become a little bit of a star. He's learned a lot more English now. It feels like he's had two careers, right? And it feels like he was reborn here in this cruiserweight division. He's funny on the mic now. You know, I don't know if you saw his post-fight press conference, but the guy's freaking hilarious, man. And he just refuses to talk bad about anybody. He's always the nicest guy, and it comes off great. It doesn't come off corny. I believe he's a big star at cruiserweight. I think he can clean up this division. And he did talk about maybe moving to heavyweight. And I think huge, huge things are coming for Zurdo Ramirez. I'm really proud of him and what he's done. And the future looks bright. You know, I just had a show with the Torres brothers about who's the face of Mexico. Nobody mentioned this guy. None of us. And look what he's doing, man. Look what he's doing.
Cruiserweight is kind of a wide open division, except for one man and one man only. That man is Jai Apataya out of Australia. I think Zurdo can have a lot of success with a lot of the other cruiserweight champions and contenders. He does look like he's filling in now at the weight, but I'd like to really see him get settled in, get his style down, and continue to get some more rounds under his belt in this division, because if he ever gets in the ring with Jai Opataya, that will be one hell of a fight. One more thing that I definitely want to talk about is Zurdo's new style. Mark, when he first came onto the scene, he was a pressure fighter. Now you look at him, he's more of a cagey boxer now. His feet aren't too great, but he still knows how to turn and move on these bigger men. And his hands still have some speed on them, which I think a lot of the cruiserweights are going to have the biggest problem with is his hand speed. Can we give Julian Chua some props for totally changing Zurdo's style? We saw a little bit of it against Joe Smith Jr. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that fight? We saw some of it there, and we're like, hey, he's really turning into, he's trying to get slick in there. And I think we're starting to see the metamorphosis happen with him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. He looks better. He's on his toes. He's a slick little fighter now. He's got those little awkward tricks inside. I mean, sometimes you see him pause and then slap you. Like, he snaps a jab out. He's looking good. He's a boxer puncher now. A complete boxer puncher in this cruiserweight division. And we know he can go back to the old style. So he's going to be really, really dangerous. I don't see anybody beating him here. You talk Joe Apataya, but I say, hey, let's not forget what Fundora, another Mexicano, did to another Australian that we thought all this beast of, you know?
No, wait, don't put that on me. I told you Fundora was going to be a tough fight. I said that from the beginning.
I'm putting it all on me. I'm putting it all on me.
You're dismissing You're dismissing him just like you're dismissing Jai Opataya right now. So be careful with your own words, buddy.
I'm just saying. I overlooked Fundora, man. Another Mexicano against an Australian.
Well, I thought.
Don't ever overlook a Mexicano against an Australian is what Fundora taught us, man.
Fair enough. Well, Mark, that's the end of the video. But we got some things going on this weekend, man.
We're gonna be at the Zone. PYP Boxing will be live at the Zone April 4th at the weigh-ins. The weigh-ins start around 2. We're gonna go live at the weigh-ins. We're gonna talk to one of the boxers that are fighting Friday night in Houston, Texas, on the Red Owl boxing tour that they have there. I believe they have 9 more bouts in Houston. What they do is they get the youngest talent around, the youngest up-and-comers, 10-0, 9-0, good records, match them up and get going. It's always fun there, so don't miss it. April 4th, we'll have the weigh-ins. We will be live.
All right, man. Great weekend of boxing. I was couch locked all weekend, and we've got a lot more boxing happening in the next few months. Stay tuned in, guys. You know we're going to be covering it. Everybody, have a good one. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.